Good afternoon. I'm Bob Sherman, and this is our Great Artist Series presented by First National City Bank. I'm thrilled to say that we not only have a great artist as our guest today, but a supreme musician, a man who for more than 2 generations has been at the very top of his field. As a matter of fact, his name is synonymous with the absolute peak of perfection on his instrument. I'm referring to Andre Segovia, and I am really thrilled that for the first time we have been able to bring Mr. Segovia to the WQXR microphones. Actually, it worked the other way around. We brought the WQXR microphones to Maestro Segovia. I visited him in his hotel room just about a month ago when he was here for some New York concerts. We have a great deal to play for you, of course, but I thought we'd begin with just one little snippet, because I asked Maestro Segovia, now here is a man, as I said, who's been performing on the stage for well over 60 years, and I wondered whether he still has to practice.
Regularly, I work every day between 4, 5 or 6 hours.
Really?
2.5 in the morning, 2.5 in the afternoon, and then, sometime in the evening.
If we came in the middle of one of these practice sessions, what would we find you doing? Exercises, scales, the pieces that you're playing at a concert?
First, to flexibilize my fingers by making pure technique. Scales, arpèges, and so forth, and I. And that is the best thing to do in order to be above all the difficulties that may arise in a composition of a piece. And then I begin to work on the difficult passages of each piece that I have to play in my next series of concerts. And finally, every work from the beginning to the end, in order not to lose the complete view of the composition.
I first had the opportunity of meeting Andre Segovia about a year ago on one of the music cruises, and it was an absolutely marvelous experience. This is such a warm and gentle and open and courtly man that he's a pleasure to be around, fascinating to listen to. Listen to him talk, let alone play. And it's one of my great frustrations as a broadcaster that an interview that I taped with him on the ship was not really fit to play on the air. The reason is very simple. We had the chance of doing it during a rather stormy day at sea, and Maestro wanted the door to the cabin left open. Well, that meant that not only we had the wind and the sound of the surf and whatnot, but people wandering up and down outside in the hall, calling to each other. And since Segovia speaks in a very gentle manner, as you will hear, it just didn't come through. You couldn't really hear it. So I was terribly frustrated about this, and waiting impatiently for the chance of again bringing Andre Segovia to our WQXR listeners. Well, the opportunity came up about a month ago, as I said. The sound is still not that great, because I still had my little tape recorder in his hotel room, and he does speak very quietly. But if you will listen carefully, I think you will be rewarded by some marvelous feelings and thoughts and ideas. We began musically just a moment ago with a piece by Mario Castelnuovo Tedesco. This was one of many written for, dedicated to Andre Segovia, and I wondered just how many composers had written pieces for the maestro.
I think that about 150 or so.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's extraordinary.
Because
number.
Ponce has written many themes, Castelnuovo also, Turina, Torrova many themes, and Tansman, all that.
And then...
And what is more interesting is that many composers are now composing for the guitar belonging to my pupils. Not for me, but for my pupils.
So that by extension...
Exactly, they are enriching the repertoire of the guitar.
Maestro, how is it that so many people seem to have worked with you? Do you have master classes, or how does it work?
Well, I had, during almost 10 years, without going every year, but I had a teaching class in the Accademia Chigiana in Siena for about, as I told you, 8 or 10 years. Every course was were about 40 or 50 students. Then not all of them have worked with me because they were not sufficiently advanced. But I selected only 8 or 10, and I gave to Alirio Diaz, who I have named assistant teacher, the rest. But everybody says that he has studied with me.
I see. That's would explain it.
Even I have an enormous number of pupils that I don't know.
Maestro, we talked about the fact that so many compositions have been written for you, and that there are so many, that the whole field of the guitar has opened up so widely. Do you feel that the level of playing has increased?
Oh yes, of course. Before, the guitar has only the works written by the guitarist, who were not very good always. Very good Sor, Giuliani, and maybe a little bit very refined, but he was not a great composer, Tarrea. All the rest are vulgar. Then the bed for which the musical water of the guitar was running was very narrow. By asking all the composers who were not guitarists but symphonic composers to write for the guitar, this bed was going on, larger and larger and deep and deep.
What did you do when you began your career and you did not have all of this music to draw upon?
I got at a loss, because I have a practice with passion. My technique, and I have only certain a little transcription by there of Schumann and Chopin and so forth, and nothing. This is what I began immediately to ask the composer to write, and Toroba was the first to answer. He wrote first the dance, which is in suite castellana.
That was the first work.
Yes. Written for by somebody who was not a guitarist, but a composer, a composer.
Yes.
Then Turina, Falla, and so forth.
And now also, for that reason, since the bed of music, as you put it, is so much wider, there are that many more people studying and interested in the instrument.
The guitar was enclosed in a vicious circle. There were no composers because there were no instrumentalists, no guitarists. And there were no guitarists because there were no composers.
Did you start as a child playing the guitar? I read somewhere that you were a cellist.
I was what?
That you played the cello at one time.
No, never.
No.
Once I took the cello from Gaspar Casador, but it is very amusing. Piatigorsky heard me for the first time in Berlin, long before the war. And he told me in the second concert, which was about 10 days later, that his practice during all the time was pizzicato.
I see. But you started the guitar as a child, didn't you?
Yes.
How did you avoid the folk element? How come you didn't start with flamenco?
Because I was born with the vocation for music, and the flamenco doesn't. The guitar flamenco has to accompany the voice and the dance. By itself is nothing.
So from the beginning you felt it and considered it
well,
as a solo.
There was a man, and I heard that I was interested, and he taught me everything he knew. I mean, very little.
Where did you find teachers?
No. I was, from that moment, I was my pupil and my teacher.
Really?
And all my life long, the association has lasted.
I asked Maestro Segovia a question that I've posed to a number of instrumentalists, got a much different answer. I've frequently been curious about what is the most difficult thing for a given instrumentalist. And sometimes they'll tell me that it's hard on their instrument to make big jumps, or it's hard to play a legato line, or whatever it is. And so I asked Andre Segovia, what is the most difficult thing to do on the guitar?
If I tell you the truth, everything. Even the, so to speak, the things that is considered by other instrumentalists, like very, very easy. No. Because the guitar is an instrument of positions, polyphonic. No other string instrument is polyphonic as it is the guitar. The violin or the cello play double notes time to time, and it is a miracle that Bach has written fugues for the violin and pieces like a Chaconne, for violin alone. But essentially, the violin is not a polyphonic instrument, but the guitar is, and it is very difficult to attend to all the polyphony of the instrument in order to detach the voices that should be detached and to place in second plan, the other voices that are not interesting. I mean, as well than the melody.
Maestro, you mentioned the Chaconne. You have made a transcription for guitar.
Yes, yes.
What was your logic in moving it from the violin to the guitar, and how did you accomplish the...
Because of the Chaconne was first a Spanish dance from the 15th century. It was before a dance that was forbidden to see the decent girls. It was even the government, has prohibited the ladies to see the Chaconne dance.
Really?
By a certain evolution, the Chaconne has been one of the most highest themes for the composer. Corelli, Vivaldi, Bach, many other composers of that time and after have composed variations for the Chaconne. For the Chaconne, the Pasacalla, the Sarabanda, and the Folias. 4 Spanish dancers. Well, then, the Chaconne by Bach is in D minor, which is the central key of the guitar. Every variation is written as for a plucked instrument, with the exception of one that is for the bow, that is very easy to play in the guitar. Then, the movement of the two kind of division of the Chaconne, the first and the third, proceeds from tonic to dominante in gradual intervals. Ta-ro-ra-ri. This is peculiar to the Andalusian folk songs and folkloric music. And finally, the whole character of the Chaconne is as if it was composed by Bach for an instrument, near the guitar. Could be the theorbo, could be the lute, for which he had composed many pieces. Then I had this in mind, and I took the Chaconne. Before beginning the transcription, I analyzed all the transcriptions that were made by the Chaconne, from the Chaconne by any other musician. Busoni for the piano, Brahms for the piano for the left hand or right hand only. The Hubai, who was a great violinist, a Hungarian violinist, made a transcription for violin and orchestra.
Really? That I never heard.
Yes. And so and so. I analyzed all, and I arrived to the conclusion that the true flavor and expression of Chaconne was in the guitar. The one by Busoni is magnificent from the pianistic point of view, but it is so well dressed, you know, that the poetry sings in it. And all the other is needless to say. But in the guitar, you know, with little harmonies added to the harmony, but always in the character of the music by Bach, and it is real place for the cello.
Andre Segovia is our great artist today, and before we heard him play the Chaconne, he described his sort of thinking process as he transcribed it from the violin to the guitar. I wondered whether this was some sort of a principle, whether he had a particular way of determining what would work and what wouldn't work in transcription.
I transcribe only the music that the guitar may perfect and render more beautiful.
More beautifully?
Yes, otherwise no. Because of the guitar, the sound of the guitar is by itself a little melancholic. This is a very nice thing in an instrument. Then, you know, it has different timbres. I used to say the guitar is like an orchestra looked at by the reverse part of a binocular, you know.
The other side of the binocular. Ah.
Everything is there, very little, but it is there. The oboe, the flute, you know, the cello, everything, every instrument, by allusion.
I've never
Then these enrich the work.
By the same token, when you play with orchestra,
I had stimulated all the composers to write for guitar and orchestra in order to lift the level of the guitar, you know, the credit of the guitar as a concert instrument. They have made beautiful pieces. Castelnuovo, Ponce, Rodrigo, Tansman, all of them. Beautiful concert. But as soon as the guitar has reached that level, I don't play anymore concert with orchestra, guitar and orchestra. Why? Just by the reason I told you just now. The guitar alludes to those instruments. But when those instruments are present, aren't there, the allusion of the guitar becomes very weak. Exactly like if you have here this light, the other light, the other light. Suddenly, it becomes the day, the morning, and the sun comes in until I are fading, you know. And the mass of the orchestra is powerful. The oboe sounds very strong, the cello, the dulcimer, you know, and the guitar is at the rest there.
the one possible solution is to amplify the guitar, but you don't believe in that.
The amplifier erase all the beauty, all the poetry of the guitar. The electricity. This is the reason why Even the record, the best record, lacks always this kind of poetry that evaporates from the record. The record never existed in the guitar, or the sound of the guitar.
The last little bit I'd like you to hear today was actually recorded by accident. We had finished the conversation. I had said thank you, and matter of fact, I had my coat on my arm, but I neglected to turn off the tape recorder. Now, Martha Nelson was there. She is with the Guitar Society. It was she who helped me set up the entire appointment with Andre Segovia. And she said, you know, he was talking before about the sound of the guitar and the naturalness of it and the way it can only be captured in the concert hall, not on recordings. And she said, why don't you ask him about the fact that people come and listen so raptly to the guitar when in most other instances they have to be amplified to death and they get blown out of the studio in order to get some pleasure. And I said something to Maestro, something to the effect of, well, listen, people don't come to hear the guitar, they come to hear you.
Both. The guitar because it has the charm, and me because I love the guitar and I transmit to the public my love of the guitar. The guitar is so sincere that it doesn't admit bad music. Always good music, because otherwise it sounds bad. And then the public is accustomed to the sound, how to discover the sound of the guitar, and how beautiful pieces, for instance, by Bach, by Haydn, by Mozart, sound there in Badir. The more noise, the lower is the sense of the art, moral, love, and so forth.
And there you have some inkling of the warmth and the modesty and the great humanity of Andre Segovia. It has been a joy for me to bring you these conversations. I hope you enjoyed them as I had fun listening to them over again just now, and I think that this is an extraordinary man in every way.
Mm-hmm.